Hey, this is Hammer with a 2400 point battle line against a Lizardmen opponent. So I managed to sneak in 2 games during my moving process before I moved to a new city. One of which was my Lizardmen against the Warriors army. So really wish I took pictures of the game because it ended up being a great game and a great win for the Lizardmen. It seems every time I don't take pictures, the game is awesome and there's some lesson to be learned from it. So I just need to remember to do it every time I play. But I invited the Warriors opponent to play as the Lizardman list that I used against him. I really like the idea of an opponent playing one of my lists, just to kind of see how he might use it better than me, and of course discuss how he might change the list. So before I go into the report itself, I'm going to cover some army updates for my Lizardmen and go over my list itself. So if you're not interested in that, you can skip ahead to the battle report at the time indicated below. So these are all the models I've painted currently, and a lot of these are further along than you'll see in the report, but even these still need a lot of touching up and highlighting, all that as usual. So definitely bracing the jungle theme, going with some pretty extreme jungle basing, and using a few bright tropical colors across the list. So I guess the idea overall is to kind of be consistent with these colors across all unit types, so it looks like the army was spawned together. So talking about the list itself, so starting with the core, skink skirmishers. So really like these guys. They add so much flexibility to the list with their ability to, spread wide and block things, poison shots to take down monsters. They can easily flee and then rally with cold-blooded. So taking 4 units of 10, it's really all the core chaff I could ever want. Really functional chaff I could ever want. So continuing with core, Saurus Warriors. Yeah, really like having this solid core infantry choice. So strength 4, tough 4, 2 attacks, 4 up armor, 6 ward, and then the cold-blooded 8 is just really solid. Seems these aren't that popular with a lot of people, especially in the UK, but I love them. Love the models, and yeah, hope they at least stay as they are in the new book that's right around the corner. So running a block of 30 of them with full command. Going to special, so chameleon skinks. I like them for the same reasons I like the skirmishers, just the flexibility. And then with the added ballistic skill and scouting, just makes them a pain in the ass during the game for opponents. So running 2 units of 6. So continuing the special, the temple guard. So these are just sword spearmen that I converted, just chopped off the spearheads and added hand weapons or temple guard halberd bits to the top of them. Just a cheap way to make temple guard, but so I've always liked the classic look of the Slan protected by temple guard. So I like how they look, and also taking them for the added strength in the list. I think there's kind of a lack in strength in the current book, just because I don't know. I don't think the Croxagore units are all that good. So taking 22 of these with the Jaguar standard, allowing them to pursue an extra d6. I think that's really powerful. Big surprise for a swift ride unit that breaks from you. You can actually run them down pretty easily. So that can be dangerous too. Of course, you can pursue somebody and be caught out of position, but at least you're stubborn and pretty killy overall, especially with light magic. So talking about my Slan, so yeah, he's a party Slan with all the goodies except for cupped hands and a super powerful caster. So my first game against Warriors, I could get the big 3 light spells off in my temple guard. Speed of light, time warp, boss protection, and they were just ripping Chaos Warriors and Chaos Knights. So really like how light synergizes with the Lizardmen list overall. It really combats a lot of their weaknesses of weapon skill and initiative. So the Slan himself, he's definitely going to go down in power level in the new book. But hopefully I can still take one, just because I think he's just a classic part of the Lizardmen army. So just talking about heroes, Scar veterans. I really, really like these guys. Probably my favorite thing in the current book. Just strength 5, toughness 5, 4 attacks for 85 points is just, it's crazy. Lord level stats. So running 2 of those, and my first build has a 1-up armor save, strength 7, poison, and discards the first wound for cannon resistance. And then the second one has a 1-up rerollable. He's got -4 to armor saves and flaming. So you have so much versatility between these two Scar vets. They can just, if they get in with a unit of human or elf knights, they can just rip them over the course of a game. So yeah, really small footprint and a big threat on the board. So a big fan of these guys. Fully expecting to either increase in cost or go down a strength or a toughness. So talking about rares, salamanders, yeah, not much to say about these guys except they're really good and definitely undercosted. -3 armor saves with a template is just really good. So expecting a price hike on them, or a reduction in effectiveness. And then to kind of round out the list is kind of a fun choice, the Ancient Stegodon. So love the model. He's actually pretty good, just too expensive, I think. Strength 6, tough 6 with 3-up armor, and then the ability to have all those poison shots makes him pretty versatile. So he's a fun choice. Stubborn, that's a big one. He's probably better with Lore of Life instead of Light, but not bad overall. Oh, the impact hits, can't forget about those. So probably expecting this guy to go down in points a little bit. I'd like to put him on the field because I just painted the model. Don't want to waste it. So going to the battle report itself, I brought a experimental type Bretonnian list that I've been wanting to try out for a while. And what I'm experimenting with is the use of 80 point paladins in place of mounted yeomen. So I've taken a lot of mounted yeomen in the past because I think Bretonnia really needs chaff to be most effective. The reasoning is that chaff can set up charges for your lances, which we need to be effective in combat. They also prevent our lances from getting charged, which is particularly devastating to Bretonnia. So I think the 80-point paladins are better than 75-point mounted yeomen for a few reasons. So first is their ability to survive, with the armor, the toughness, and then they can actually do damage on the charge to win the chaff war and actually counter chaff instead of just be chaff. So they have a small footprint, they can go anywhere, they can get a lookout sir in addition to their better stats, can join the units. They have no vanguard, but I don't think that matters. Actually, to really take advantage of the vanguard with yeomen, you have to kind of play aggressively with your lances, because if you don't, and you don't go for that turn 2 charge, then the yeomen are just going to disintegrate to minor ballistic skill shooting. So, and then another advantage is that since your characters go last, you can always deploy those paladins wherever they're most needed. So definitely a concept I'm going to be using going forward with Bretonnia, and I truly believe it's better than using the yeoman. So taking a look at the left side of the board, on my side, so Bowman, 80-point paladin, got some pegs. Trebuchet, Knights of the Realm, another paladin. These are the character builds. So yeah, I've got 5 paladins in my list, so super character heavy. So this lance has 2 characters up front with 1-up armor saves, and it's very killy. Few towards the right, got another trebuchet, Knights Errant with my level 4, and the double Paladin unit that I love so much. Then on the far right, I'm using another type of chaff, just a 5-man unit of Knights of the Realm. So I was able to let his Chameleon Skinks sneak in there. I think I was going to drop another Paladin over there to block him out, but I just forgot for some reason. Looking at the Lizardman side, he's got some skirmishers on the right. Salamander, Swords Block, more skirmishers, Temple Guard there in the center. Far left, he's got a Steg, more skirmishers, another Salamander, and then the 2 nasty Scarvets. And near my lines on the far left, he's got Chameleon Skinks scouted forward. So there's a Vanguard move with my pegs on the left. And going to Lizardman turn 1. So on the right, moves his Chameleon Skinks around my Knights. View towards the center right. The middle, everything moves up pretty cautiously. And a view towards the left. So he's going to try to power those Scarvets on the left side through my lines. And overview of the board after Lizardman turn 1 movement. So in his magic phase, he gets Net of Ammontok off of my level 4's unit, so I have to take a strength test or I won't be able to cast, which is tough. And he gets Bubble, Falls Protection off, so one thing I'm really relying on in this game is my trebuchets to kind of weaken things over the course of the game. Because I'm really going to try to play defensive and fight the chaff battle before I commit any lances, so this definitely makes it tough, needing a 4 to even shoot at any of his main combat blocks. So shooting phase, Chameleon Skinks pick off a couple bowmen in front of the swamp. It's actually not bad for me because it allows me to flank charge him next turn with my bowman. His Salamander takes a wound off my Peg Knights. So I'm going to Brett turn 1, take my bowman into the flank of the Chameleons. Take my Peg Knights into a Scarvet. Yeah, this is way too ambitious. This guy's way too good to be doing this. My Peg Knights should be flying around killing Skinks, but I think I got way too ambitious here. So charge his Salamander with one of my 80-point Paladins, and he rolled pretty low, and I caught him, so that was nice. Overview of the board. So yeah, moving up pretty cautiously. Trying to fight the chaff battle and wait to commit my lances late. Hopefully when one of the Saurus blocks are in the woods so I can break his steadfast. So on the right, just turn my Knights around to prevent his Chameleon Skinks from getting too close to my trebuchets, but this is actually a terrible angle to do it. I could have played this a lot smarter, as you'll see. Magic phase, take my strength test with Net of Ammontok, fail it, and magic phase is over. Going to combat, so I beat the Chameleon Skinks, but they stick with their cold-blooded. That's brutal. And yeah, my Peg Knights get crushed by the Scarvet. I mean, this is the strength 5 guy, or strength 7 guy with a 1-up, so I must have been thinking, oh yeah, this guy's the 1-up, not the 1-up he rolled. Well, I can take him, but no. I mean, my highest strength is 5. I could only get 3 strength 5 attacks in at him with his tough 5 and a 1-up. Way too ambitious. And I failed my fear test, so that made it impossible. So on Lizardman turn 2, he charged my 80-point Paladin with his Scarvet. I fled, then he declared these 2 charges, and yeah, he pushed me off the board. So his strength 7 Scarvet charged my pegs. They bounced through my trebuchet, and then he redirected to my treb. So that one stupid mistake, and I have this nasty combat lord or combat hero behind my lines. So his movement's in the center, kind of holding back with his main combat blocks, not committing to that forest, and moving his chaff out in front. And out on the right, yeah, so he moves his Chameleon Skinks right around my Knights because I position him at such a terrible angle, and moves his Salamander in front of the building so he can lay a flame template down, and if I charge him, he can just flee right through the building, so it's a good move. And here's an overview after movement. And in his magic phase, gets Net of Ammontok off on my level 4's unit again, so that's gonna suck. Gets Faw's protection off on his stag. Shooting phase, picks off a knight. And see, after combat with his Scarvet, beats my Trebuchet, reforms towards my lines. And my Bowmen kill the Chameleon Skinks and reform to shoot at his Scarvets. So going to Bretonnia 2, charge my 80-point Paladin into the Salamander that was in front of the building. And he held because I only had 1 wound on this Paladin from shooting, I think. So then I charged my Grey Weapon Paladin out of my BSB's unit into the Salamander, and he fled, bounced to the building, redirected with my 80-pointer at the Skinks. They fled, and I ran them down. So yeah, that's better than a mounted yeoman could have done. And here's my Great Weapon Paladin with his failed charge. And also charge my Ogre Blade Paladin into this chap here in the forest. So all I'm hoping to do is kind of block up his Temple Guard from getting too aggressive. You know, because I know those skirmishers will be stubborn in the woods, but I'll win that eventually. So also move my general's unit backwards so that the Strength 7 Scarvet can't charge my Treb. And if he wants to charge, he'll have to go into my Lance, where my Heroic Killing Blow General could deal with him. Also scoot my level 4's unit back and position my BSB's unit such that the Chameleon Skinks cannot sneak through those units to get to my last Treb. You towards the right, so I just spin around my Knights of the Realm. Yeah, I think they just stayed in the same place the whole game, watching everything unfold. And I fail my Net of Ammontok test, and my magic phase is over. So in my shooting phase, with my 5 Bowmen, I pick off the Charmed Shield from this Scarvet, and then I target it with a Trebuchet, score a direct hit, and roll a 1 to wound. So, that killed me. Really needed that. See, after combat here, my Paladin kills only 1 Skink. Everyone sticks around, and he reforms wide, as you can see. So going to Lizardmen turn 3, Negan 8, his source block, make it into my Paladin. And I held because I thought this charge was impossible. So if you look back at this picture, from my perspective, it looks like there's no way he can get that source block into the front of my Paladin using, you know, 1 wheel and moving straight forward without either hitting the building or hitting my Paladin in the woods on the wheel. So, you know, somehow he did it. Made me think, you know, what I should probably do is make a bunch of really thin measuring sticks that are the length of common unit frontages. So when situations like this arise, when it's so close, you can measure it accurately, because, you know, once you pick up the unit and try to show you can wheel, it's just already over. You can't do it accurately, so that'd probably be easier for everyone. So he makes it in. Moves the Skinks forward to shoot at my Knights. Chameleon Skinks keep moving in. So he moves his Temple Guard forward slightly. View towards the left. So after movement, I think this was a Wildwood or something. So it killed maybe a Saurus, a Temple Guard, and then moved. And in his magic phase, yeah, he buffs these Saurus warriors to the gills with, man, I think he had Time Warp, Faw's, and Speed of Light, and I just couldn't stop it. So I think he cast the first 2, and then his last one was Irresistible Force. So he did blow up a ton of Temple Guard, which was nice, but that source block is really scary now. So shoots at my Bowman with his Skinks. Kills 2 knights with these skinks. So just an overview shot. And after combat, yeah, my Swift Stride doesn't save me on my paladin. And he beats him and runs him down right into my BSB's unit. So that is not what I planned to happen. So going to Brett turn 3, I countercharged the Saurus block, my level 4's unit. So felt I needed every bit of combat res I could get to make sure my BSB's unit could stick around. So as my shooting advantage disappeared throughout the game, my strategy really shifted from shooting units and weakening them and countering where I could to playing more points denial. So I really didn't want to commit my lances until Brett turn 5. So my thinking was I would burn into Spell Scroll, you know, make sure he had a weak magic phase, and then double charge the Saurus block to try to get points there. And if I didn't, then I would have committed so late that he wouldn't have the time to really grind me down. But having to commit on Brett turn 3, I don't think I can win the long grind. So also on Brett turn 3, charge these skinks with my knights. Should be easy points. Out on the left, charge my Pro Kingbo General's Lance into a Scarvet, get him to flee, redirect into the Stag, but fail the long bomb. So also redirect his Temple Guard unit with my Paladin. And in my shooting phase, so my second successful Treb shot of the game is a direct hit, and I roll a 1 to wound. So yeah, 2 hits, 2 rolls of 1 to wound. And in the words of Once Bitten, are you freaking kidding me? So I continue to grind it out with these skinks in the woods with my Ogre Blade Paladin. So I beat these skinks in combat and run them down with my knights. And in the big grind in the middle, I actually stick. I think I actually won combat. My double Paladin BSB's unit is just, they stick around. If you have never tried this unit out, I recommend you try it because it's done such good things for me in the past. And let's see, he reforms wide to get more attacks on my unit. So on Lizardmen turn 4, Scarvet goes into my lances, and skinks go into my trebuchet. My Temple Guard and Salamander go into my Paladin. Stag fails to charge on my Ogre Blade Paladin. Scarvet rallies, unfortunately. So magic phase, he only got off Speed of Light, so that was nice. And after close combat, so he kills a few Knights Errant with Scarvet, but we all stick around, primarily due to the combat res from my BSB's unit. And let's see, Chameleons kill 2 peasant crewmen, and the crewmen kill 2 vac and hold, so go peasants. And after close combat here, my 80-point Paladin kills the Salamander in close combat. And so he's earned double his points, and he's still alive on turn 4, redirecting things. So yeah, I think this experiment is pretty much a success in terms of being better than Mounted Yeoman. Let's see, my Ogre Blade Paladin kills the skinks and reforms towards more important targets. So these skinks killed my Bowman in close combat. So going to Bretonnia 4, charge my Ogre Blade Paladin into the flank of the Saurus. My Hero Kungbo General's unit charges the Steg. Move my Knights of the Realm back towards the fight after running down some skinks. So just setting up for a future charge, so get a charge in the flank that might let me stick around in a future combat. And in my magic phase, I get off Curse of Honor here on the Saurus, so the only spell I got off all game. And yeah, so now I'm thinking this is the time I need to win this combat. He only has 1 buff on him, I have a debuff on him, I have a flank charge with my Strength 6 Paladin. If I'm going to win this fight, it has to be now. So over here after combat, yeah, my general's unit whiffs on the Stegodon. And yeah, this is horribly disappointing. So both of my paladins completely whiff their attacks. Don't roll a single hit. And with their higher strength, really needed them to hit because I still won this combat, but he was one Saurus away from not being steadfast. So if I at least maybe killed 3 wounds, worth of Saurus for my paladins, that would have been reasonable. And I could have had him on, I don't know, maybe a 6 rerollable with cold-blooded, and at least have a shot. But as it is, I won. But cold-blooded 10 rerollable is just, they're just not going to break. He might as well be unbreakable. So over here, my peasants and my trebuchet kill a chameleon skink and win combat. So man, the peasants are the all-stars of this game. So Lizardmen turn 5. Flank charges my general's unit with his Scarbat and Temple Guard. So my trebuchets weren't shooting marshmallows all game, and I killed either the Steg or the Scarbat. I might have actually had a chance here. So moves his skinks up such that when I break, I'll break from the Temple Guard and bounce right through these skinks off the board. So yet another good tactical use for skinks. Let's see, in this combat, yeah, still sticking around, but that Scar Veteran is almost eaten my Prophetess. So she has 1 wound left.
Monster kill.
So my General Heroic Killing blows a Steg. Lose a few more knights, but actually stick for a turn. So Brett turn 5, flank charge the Source block. Just give myself some res to survive. And yeah, this core unit of 30 Source warriors buffed with light magic and within general and BSB range is just rock solid. They're holding at far more points than they're worth. So definitely impressed with them, and I think they have good potential in my Lizardman list with light. But after combat, my level 4's unit gets eaten by the Scarbat and the Saurus, but everyone else sticks. I think I still won this combat, but of course the cold-blooded rerollable is just too much. Yeah, over here, I actually stick again. So my general kills a couple Temple Guard, and with standard discipline and leadership 10, I passed my leadership 7 or whatever it was. And my trebuchet. So I have 1 peasant left. I've killed another skink. So if this peasant can do this, he's definitely getting raised to knighthood. So on Lizardman turn 6, Scarbat goes into my BSB's unit. Magic phase, Party Slam puts on a light show for the Saurus. And after combat, yeah, so Ogreblade Paladin gets killed, Knight of the Realm unit gets killed, breaks my BSB's unit, so BSB and Banner dies, but I get away. My poor peasant in the trebuchet finally gets killed. My general's unit finally breaks, and they bounce through the skinks off the board. And on Brett turn 6, I rally my Knights of the Realm, which is my last unit on the board. And yeah, that's where the game ends. So I apologize for the long report, but when I got back from my honeymoon, I was just really excited to talk about Warhammer again. So, yeah, I'd love to talk Warhammer strategy with my wife, but it's never going to happen. So, really enjoyed this game, really strategic, really like the dynamic with all the little chat battles going on around the board and fighting for positioning, with the bigger units. So I especially enjoyed playing this style of Brett list. I've definitely convinced myself that the 80-point Paladins are the way to go going forward with Bretonnian chaff. Like having the extra combat Paladin with my General's unit, so I have 2 very powerful Killy Lances in this list. And so against chaff heavy armies, I can fight the chaff battle by charging support paladins out of units, by fighting with the chaff I already have. And then against chaff light armies, I can redirect, with the chaff I already have and set up favorable combats for my power lances. So definitely like this style of Brett list, and I'll extend it to 3K as well. In terms of the Lizardmen, yeah, I like the 2400. So it's worked great in 2 games now, both against me and when I played them. So I've heard a lot of people say that Lizardmen are boring, but man, we have lots of little skink units to control, solo Scarbats running around, light magic. I think that's a lot of fun and a very interesting movement phase. So yeah, I'm definitely interested to see how the new book changes things, and looking forward to painting some big dinosaurs soon. So maybe what I'll do next is an army book review of the new Lizardmen. So I haven't done one of those yet. Anyways, hope you enjoyed it.